Well, hello and welcome to Photo Stories. I'm Nigel Walker, and in this broadcast, as you may know, I talk to one photographer about one photograph that they have taken as a way of finding our way into their practice. This afternoon, I'd like to welcome Fiona Caley, who's going to join me. Fiona has had an interest in photography since childhood. By the time she was 18, had her own camera and found her way into commercial photography through her photography tutor, who saw a lot of skill and promise in how she had worked at college. Later, she met Lee Karen Stowe, a photographer who was working in Sierra Leone at that time with women following the end of the Civil War. And that began to interest uh, Fiona, who worked with her for a while on issues that concerned women's lives and the lives that they were expected to lead in quite difficult and dire circumstances sometimes. Uh, Fiona grew up on a farm in the East Coast and therefore has always had a view of the landscape and environment, which was very important to her and continues to be important. She moved away from the way of photographing commercially and into a very different, and perhaps we could describe it as a more emotional way of photographing, where the technical issues became less important than the subject matter. Um, Fiona received a grant from the St. Hugh's Foundation for the Arts some years ago and used that to track and talk about the life of farmers in an area called Sunk Island, which is part of the Humber Estuary. Um, Subsequently, she had work shown on country files as a way of coming out of that, and has also done other work on the East Coast in particular. Um, so she's appeared on television and last year spent a month in residency in Ireland, photographing what would be a very different landscape to that of the East Coast of England. So welcome, Fiona. What have I missed out? Lots, I'm sure.
Maybe just a key thing would be to say that it was Iceland, not Ireland. As much as I would love to
Did
have,
I say I'm sorry, yes. I
yeah,
know it was Iceland. I don't know why I said that.
I know, yeah, as much as I would love to do a month of in residency in Ireland, it was in fact Iceland. So that's maybe the next thing I need to be doing anyway. But
Well,
yes, thank
that
you.
that might mean we need to re-record this at some point, but we'll see.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, um, I've asked you to share with us one photograph and talk a little bit about that photograph, why you took it, any technical issues with it. So would you like to share the photograph with us right now?
I will indeed. This is hoping that all technical things will come to pass.
Excellent. There it is.
Can you see that okay?
I can see that perfectly well, thank you, yes.
Yeah, okay. I can't get rid of the menu at the top, but I think that's fine. We can still see it, can't we?
Yeah,
Um, as you can hopefully plainly see, it's a hedge. The kind of hedge that we would pass daily out in the countryside or wherever. Generally, you'd be passing it if you're in a car. It's an east riding hedge, but again, it could be a hedge anywhere in the country, possibly anywhere in the world. And I took this photograph whilst I was carrying out the rural life project. So I was kind of out and about with my camera quite a bit, and it was part of the aim of taking such a photograph as this was actually because I wanted to capture the ordinary, the everyday that we do quite often just pass by, and sort of acknowledge it really, its presence in the countryside and in our lives. And also, it's a hedge. It's a functional thing. It's a functional being in a way because there are hedges all over, and they surround fields, which of course are fields where belonging to farmers who were being farmed by the farmers, that some of which I was photographing and documenting.
Mm.
Um, Now, I think it was that's the very thing that I was wanting to record was the ordinariness of it. But from that photograph that I took with quite an old Canon 5D, and I think I probably had a 24 to 105 lens on it. That was my usual lens for going out and about. Um, so from that, I took it, and then you'll see that there's quite a bit of kind of like post photographing it. So quite a bit of kind of work on the computer itself. So using one of the platforms, I think that it would have been Photoshop, but I wanted to give it sort of a slightly aged look, a textured look. To kind of blur the lines between a photograph in itself or, something that could be a piece of artwork. Could it have been printed? Could it have been a very fine detailed painting? So my interest was in sort of blurring those lines a little bit. You'll see that the colours I went with a kind of, it's not a pure black and white if you discount the sort of the beige or the textured coloured, the background and the foreground.
Mm.
So I didn't want to go with black and white. I kind of wanted to err on the more of the
Yeah.
blue side, because also I enjoy cyanotypes. And sometimes black and white, I think, can portray a landscape in a more of a cold way or a harsh way. And I kind of wanted to bring some warmth into it, but I didn't want to present a fully coloured image.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the choice behind, yeah, using the blues.
You've got a lovely, you've got a lovely piece of old timber in there as well, which presumably at one stage was part of a gateway.
Yes, yeah. And yeah, I mean, I absolutely love the texture. And the texture of the whole of the way it kind of it offered. I mean, who doesn't love photographing? Well, I certainly do. Decaying things and
Yeah, I would
things that have
agree.
seen better days, because they do offer such an opportunity for kind of drawing out the texture in an image. So yeah, so there's an absent gate, and I don't actually know how often anybody was going in through that gateway. And but yeah, I love the grasses in the foreground,
Mm.
and I also wanted to kind of create imagery on this subject that would enable people just to pause whilst they were looking at it. So I wanted to introduce an element of stillness into the images as well. Just because that kind of, as often as a child or a young person when I was working on the farm, there would be moments of stillness where I was in a field or I'd been working on the tractor and I would be stopping to have lunch or I'd be just stopping to take notice of what was around me. So I very much had that in mind when I was taking the photograph.
I think
That,
it's very true that we do um, pass things frequently that we pay little attention to, and hedges are clearly one of those things. I drive past miles of hedges in a week, probably, but I very rarely stop and look at them. So I think it's a great way of slowing us down and helping us have a much greater appreciation of what it is we're looking at and what the environment is that we're in. I think it works really well.
yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Did this have any sort of afterlife? Has it appeared in any sort of shows or books or anything?
Uh, yeah, well, it's appeared in a couple of exhibitions. It formed part of, as you rightly mentioned, Nigel, it was part of an exhibition which was the result of being funded by the St Hughes Foundation for the Arts. Um, and so it did go on. I did exhibit this alongside, I think I selected about 20 or so images from the whole body of work.
Yeah.
They were mostly featuring kind of landscapes, really. And I called those the Blue series. So there was, yeah, they went round and about in the East Riding mainly. Although they did go across to Doncaster, so they were exhibited quite a few times. Um, as an offshoot of this, I then also did, I was photographing, did some portraits of some local characters, farming characters, which were purely black and white, but that kind of was a development from the Blue
Yeah.
series.
Are the
Mm.
people you met during the making of the Blue series?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. That way, it kind of, but they very naturally, I think, separated themselves into two different bodies of work. And at the heart of it, it was also my kind of acknowledgement of how rural life, I mean, as we all know, really, rural life is changing. I mean, just like it is in, in other places, other areas of our communities. But because, of course, it's close to my heart, that was the one area that I felt I could comment on in a way, artistically as well as, in other ways. Um, and you mentioned, of course, I was brought up on the East Coast. So one of the prime motivators for this was actually the fact that the farm I was brought up on is very, very close to the cliff edge. I mean, it's getting closer all the time, but they still reckon we've got, a few decades before it goes over. There's nobody in the family living in it anymore. And so that is a further development of kind of from this project, which is a few years ago now, well, towards the end of, oh gosh, 2017, that thereabout. So I'm still continuing on with this kind of work, but it has morphed into kind of acknowledging the change and, the fact that the farm is no longer being
Yeah.
farmed.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
I think
but also,
agriculture and the environment generally, of course, is a major political issue as well now. Um, how people farm and how they change their approaches to farming in some instances as well. So I think it's a very timely photograph, not only in terms of giving us a more Zen perspective on our surroundings, which we could all do with occasionally,
yeah,
but I think it's timely in the sense of reminding us that uh, there is a large part of the land in the UK which is given over to producing what we eat. And we need to be mindful of that as well, I think.
yeah,
A lovely
yeah,
photograph.
yeah. Thank you. Uh, thank you. I also, I do. I'm an advocate for anything creative. Um, just because I know how much it's benefited me in my life. And I hope that in the work that I do, I kind of instill some kind of, I won't say escapism, but I hope that not all of the photographs, but some of the photography offers people the opportunity just to maybe stand and, as I mentioned earlier, pause, just to hopefully find some calmness or something other than the craziness that's in their own lives. I mean, just the mere fact of stopping, to get out and photograph this,
Yeah,
which is, as I said earlier, it's such an ordinary part of our landscapes. And, I would encourage anybody just to pause, have that opportunity, just take it, even if you just stop. If you're driving, just think, well, okay, what can I photograph? What's around here? What can I make look interesting? Or what can I just record for its own purpose? But yeah, and as you say, the Zen feeling, I think that's what I hope I would find and able to convey in some of my landscapes, is that opportunity just to be calm,
Yeah.
and acknowledge what is there, really.
Fiona, that's a great photograph to share with us. Thank you ever so much. Um,
Thank you.
At the end of this broadcast, you will see Fiona's details appear so that you can look her up online and find out a little bit more about her work, the sort of photographs that she takes, and follow up on this very short interview that we've had. Fiona, thank you ever so much for joining us and talking to us today. We're going to say
Yeah.
goodbye for now, and we'll see you again soon, we hope.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Nigel.